So, with the abrupt ending to the Baltimore Ravens playoff and Super Bowl hopes, we are sit here left waiting to find out the Super Bowl participants, which a lot of us Ravens fans really don't care about.
Oh man, hey.
But it's football, it's something to do, it's something to watch. But until then, we will sit back and take a look at some of the biggest questions heading into this offseason for the 2025 season for our Baltimore Ravens. And the first question that is on hand is, what do the Ravens need to do to get over the hump? Now, we already have had a transcendent year by Lamar Jackson. He ran the ball like a lot of people did not expect. The defense played relatively well going down the stretch, and the Ravens were the second-ranked offense in the NFL. So what more could we expect out of the Ravens? What more can the Ravens do to get over that hump and make it to a Super Bowl? Like, what else do we need to do? In the past, they said, well, passing was an issue. If the Ravens can't run the ball, Lamar is not going to be able to pass us into a winning situation. Lamar is not going to be able to throw the ball to get the Ravens to the next round. Well, he did that. He played well enough last Sunday to win the game. It is just with unfortunate circumstances and the Ravens just turning the ball over, they couldn't get it done. And to answer that question, it is really not that simple. It is multi-layered. Yes, we cannot expect Lamar Jackson to get any better, which he possibly could, not doubting him and saying that he won't, but to expect him to do better than 4,100 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions is insane. We also can't expect Derrick Henry to rush for 2,000 yards. We can't expect Zay Flowers to catch for 1,300 and Bateman to get another 11. So what can we do to get over that hump? And in my personal opinion, it has more to do with the coaching aspect and the player personnel aspect than it does the players in itself. We've done everything in the last 7 years throughout the regular season to prove that the Ravens are one of the greatest organizations, one of the winningest and most successful franchises throughout the league. But when it comes playoff time, we just lose all direction, we lose all hope, and we just don't seem to be prepared for the moment. We're prepared for certain spots, but we're not prepared for the moment. And I think when it comes to coaching, we need to stick with what works. We've been saying this all season long. When the Ravens started off 0-2, all looked lost. The Ravens turned and leaned on their MVP quarterback and their running game. Now versus the Bills, they leaned on their MVP quarterback and almost came back and tied the game. But the run game outside of the third quarter was nowhere to be found. Now, for me, when it comes to coaching, I don't just mean the offensive coordinator, because Todd Monken has done a very good job in getting this offense to where it is. But I need the head coach to step in when we are not doing the things that we need to do offensively or even sometimes defensively. John Harbaugh needs to step in. He needs to show why he is the leader of this team. We don't need any more press conferences asking why Derrick Henry only got 16 carries and John Harbaugh gets an attitude.
16 rushing attempts from Derrick Henry. Do you feel that you could have utilized him a little bit?
No, I don't second guess any of that. We did what we tried to do to win the game. Anybody else? All right, thanks.
Get an attitude during the game in which this is happening and put your foot down and say, Todd, look, I know you like throwing the ball. I know you think that you're outsmarting people, but this is not what gets us to win games, at least in or throughout the playoffs. So for me, we have the personnel. We've had very talented, exceptional rosters, but we just can't get it done because once we get into the playoffs, we turn into a whole nother squad. We turn into a squad that does things that are uncharacteristic of what we've done throughout the regular season. So if we can just stick to what wins us games, no matter what the score is, no matter if we are down or not, stick to what gets us to win in the NFL, and I think the Ravens will actually be okay. Now, when it comes to free agency, the Ravens have a lot of free agents on the board and a lot of guys that actually contributed throughout the 2024 season. But we're only going to take a look at some of them and just kind of delve into whether the Ravens need to keep them or not. I personally can't say either way because some of these are going to be very difficult decisions. They're going to be very uncomfortable conversations to have with the players when they're trying to renegotiate a contract. And first and foremost, we need to find out what the Ravens are going to do with Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley has seemed to overcome his injury bug. He has remained relatively healthy throughout the last 2 seasons, and he has regained some of his all-pro form. And we all know throughout the NFL, one of the most important positions is the left tackle, protecting that blind side of the quarterback. And Ronnie Stanley does that fairly well. But Ronnie Stanley is going to command a contract north of $20 million. And as it stands right now, there's conflicting stories about how much the Ravens have to spend in the cap, how much they're under. Some say 13 mil, some say 17 mil, but paying a left tackle $20 million and getting some of these other free agents in, signing our draft picks, signing our practice squad players, this may not be the greatest move unless they can get creative under the salary cap and do some other things. I know that they have some plans where there's been some rumors that Roger Rosengarten could slide over to the left side and they could probably do something in the draft to get a right tackle. But when you have a guy that's proven, when you have someone that knows Lamar, what do you do in this situation? Like I said, uncomfortable conversation, uncomfortable decisions that have to be made. Personally, I think they should bring Ronnie Stanley back because you don't know what you can get. We don't need to do any more experimentation when it comes to this offensive line and protecting Lamar Jackson. That was part of the downfall that the Ravens had in the playoff loss to the Bills. The line was not getting any push early. They had trouble keeping pressure off of Lamar. Now you want to bring in an inexperienced left tackle to add to that. Don't know if that would be conducive to winning. Next up, we have Pat McCarry. Some people like him. They say he's a valuable backup because he can play multiple positions. The question is never asked is, can he play multiple positions well? No one ever brings that part up. They can say he can slide in, but they never ask, can he play those positions well? Now, he did a decent job. He was decent, but he got overpowered a lot of times. He committed a lot of penalties. And I think that at left guard, the Ravens could do a lot better in getting a real left guard in there to help out Ronnie Stanley or his replacement to protect Lamar Jackson's blind side. Now, if you want to bring him back at a cheaper price to be that Swiss Army knife, cool. But do not bring him back to be a starter because that is not what he is built for. That is not what his body's designed for. You can see it breaking down later in the year. That's why they started swapping out, giving him some time off because they knew he just couldn't physically hold up. And I understand it is his first season starting at one position and he maybe gets stronger or maybe he acclimates himself to that. But I think we can do a lot better than that. Eric DeCosta said that, hey, next season, this offensive line was going to be a strength. But how is that when we have two positions that are up in the air that we don't know what we're going to do about? Then you have everybody saying favorite Hard Ricard. Do we bring him back? Yes, he is to some considered the best fullback in the NFL, but the fullback is a dying breed. So saying that you're the best, is that really saying a lot? And to me, a lot of people's excuses for bringing back Ricard is, listen, he helps the offensive line out, which he does. He helps them block, he chips, he does a lot of things to help out the offensive line. But we are going into 2025, and we should not be paying $4, $5, $6 million for a fullback, for a glorified extra blocker to come in the game. He doesn't run the ball. They stop essentially throwing him passes. So what is his value to this team? Because to me, if the Ravens actually do upgrade this offensive line to one of at least the middle of the pack, why would they need a fullback to help block when your offensive line is doing its job? So that negates having a fullback altogether. This to me takes another position off the field, a la a wide receiver or another tight end that can actually catch the ball and make a play. Ricard, he catch the ball 5-10 yards down the field. That's it. You put in another threat, they could possibly take it to the house. So to me, fullbacks are a dying breed. And to me, paying all of that money for a fullback in this day and age does not make a lot of sense, especially when you are strapped for cash. Next up, we have two defensive players in Malik Harrison and Brandon Stevens. Get them going. Just go. No discussions needed. You've seen the play throughout the season. They need to go. But there can be a discussion made up for the next guy, which is Tylan Wallace, who I will admit has not gotten the most opportunities to showcase what he can do. But when he has been put in key situations, he's delivered. There was a game a couple games back. It was a 3rd and 21. He got a first down. There was a play made on that game, possible tying drive against Buffalo. He made a key catch. Now, special teams, punt return, kick return, he doesn't offer you much there, but he, to me, is a reliable 4th, 5th, 6th wide receiver to bring in cases of times of need. So I think with the right price, he should be brought back. Last but not least, safety Ardarius Washington. This should be a no-brainer. The Ravens inserted him into the starting lineup, and as soon as they did, this pass defense stopped being the worst in the league. Even though he is the smallest guy on the field, sometimes he has the biggest impact, and he does not have an issue with throwing his body around, stopping defenders from getting first downs. He actually got an interception, which he dropped a couple before, but his play ramped up towards the end of the season with more experience being on the field. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You re-sign him and bring him back into the heart of this defense. The next question, which should be priority number one. I know that some people, a lot of Ravens fans, believe that defense, pass rush, they know or think that that's going to help solve some issues. But to me, priority number one, the biggest question is, what do the Ravens do with this offensive line? We have the issue with Ronnie Stanley. We don't know if we're going to bring him back. We don't know if we're going to bring back Pat McCarry. Tyler Linderbaum, straight in the middle. Then Daniel Faalele at right guard. I know he's a Pro Bowl alternate. I know a lot of people like him, but Coach Evans himself put out a video showing Faalele just standing there. And there have been too many times during the season where he's just in space by himself, looking around, just standing there looking around instead of going and reaching out and touching someone. And Roger Rosengarten at right tackle has been a solid addition, and I think he's only going to get better the stronger that he gets and the more time that he gets spending in an NFL offseason program. So once again, we enter a second year where the Ravens have 3/5 of their offensive line in flux. 2 years in a row, 3 positions that are in question. And I don't know if the Ravens are going to do anything during the draft, but I do think they should bring in some proven veterans, some guys that know how to block and make things and make life a lot easier for Lamar and Derrick Henry. The next question is, what position are the Ravens going to draft? What is going to be the biggest need coming into the draft? The Ravens now currently select 27th in the NFL draft, and I believe with the compensatory picks, they're going to have 10, 11 picks as usual. Just a bevy of picks just to reach out and just grab guys that may not make an impact on the roster. But when it comes to the first round pick, where did we go? I know I said during last year's draft that the Ravens were going to pick a cornerback in the first round. I haven't changed upon that stance, but a lot of people think that we need to address it with edge rusher. They think we need to go get a pass rusher in the first round, find the best one available, because we do not get a lot of pressure when needed. Yes, the Baltimore Ravens were second in the league in sacks, but when it comes time in crunch time in playoff mode, it just doesn't seem to happen. We don't put enough pressure on the quarterback. But to me, I say let's not even go there. Let's not do this again, because I saw some projections. I even saw some guys talk about we should get this guy because he's a project. When are we going to stop going for projects on defense? And then when they don't pan out, we sit back and talk about them year after year like they ain't nothing. But we knew they were projects coming into the season. We need proven commodities, because what's going to happen is we're going to draft that product, and then in free agency, we're going to sign 2 more pass rushers. So what was the point in bringing in a first round pass rusher when you got to go out there and get somebody established? Why go out there and get another cornerback? Wasn't that what TJ Tampa was for? Didn't we draft him in the 4th round because we said, oh, he's going to take over a starting spot? Didn't happen. Arthur Millette, what are we going to do with him? He's supposed to return next season after missing the whole entire season this year. So why go out and get something where we're going to go in free agency and get some more of anyway? To me, strengthen that offensive line. Get another weapon. And I know y'all are going to say, we have Zay, we have Bateman. Well, at the end of that Buffalo game, both of those guys were not on the field. And even though they got it done and Lamar passed for a touchdown, we could use that bona fide stud at all cost wide receiver. So for me, offensive line, wide receiver, I think these are one of the 2 picks that you should make in the first 3 rounds. That 3rd pick, go get yourself a defender. But I think we need playmakers and protectors in this upcoming draft. And last but not least, one of the biggest questions this offseason is, what are the Ravens going to do with Mark Andrews? Yes, he is a fan favorite. Yes, he's beloved throughout this city. Yes, he is Lamar Jackson's go-to guy. Yes, throughout the regular season, he has done some dynamic things. But when it comes to postseason success, he's not there. He has not done it for us. And people keep saying, well, just wait. He'll do it. Just give him some time. It is going into year 8. How much more time do we need to give him before he participates in successful playoff ventures? I don't know. And more importantly is, we need the money. Cutting Mark Andrews saves us $11 million. He has $16 million versus the cap next season. We can save $11 million. There will be a $5.9 million dead cap hit. That is money that can be spent elsewhere. You can't tell me that Isaiah Likely, when given a starting role, wouldn't fill his position. You can't tell me that Charlie Kolar can't slide up and do the things that Isaiah Likely has done. And we can draft or possibly get another free agent tight end in here, because now we need to let go of sentimentality and start thinking business-wise. What do we do because we need money? We have a lot of needs. We have a lot of free agents, and that money can go really far into bringing in guys that are going to participate and actually do things during the playoff run. This has nothing to do with Mark as a person, but as a player. When you are needed the most, when the stakes are at its highest, you have 8 drops and 0 touchdowns. To me, that is not an $11 million a year player. Granted, he was warranted that big contract that he signed. He had an all-pro year. He's gone downhill every season after that. But to me, it is what you do during the playoffs. Lamar Jackson is unfairly criticized for his failures in the playoffs. But when it comes to Mark Andrews, we make excuses talking about, well, we wouldn't be here without him. Would we not? You're telling me with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, we couldn't take a team to the playoffs and lose without Mark Andrews? Come on now. Let's be real about the situation. So these are the questions that are facing, or some of the questions that are facing the Baltimore Ravens as we enter the offseason heading into the 2025 season. Let me know if there's another question that needs to be answered. Let me know if there's a position or something that the Ravens need to do that can help them get over the hump. But until next time, I guess we just sit back and watch whoever else is playing or take up a hobby. Either way is fine.
Nah, man, I'm cool.